So now we're going to talk about Washington State history and how we're going to pass this class. One thing I want to show you guys is the packet. We're just going to kind of go over the packet today. So in this packet, there is two different units. Unit 1 is New Technologies and Industries, Hanford Nuclear Reservation's Effects on Indian Country. And it looks really, really long. A lot of that is reading. Although it looks really, really intimidating, it's just a lot of reading. Unit 2, the Constitution and Government of Washington State. You'll see those on page 35 through 45. I'm going to ask that when you do this packet, you do them in units. So what we're going to do is we're going to do all the work for Unit 1 and then turn all the work at one time. And then once we're done with that, we're going to go to Unit 2 and we're going to finish up Unit 2. A couple different ways that we can do this. You can write it out on a piece of paper and then take a picture of that. That's an option for you. You can also open up a Word document or a Google document or anything that's going to help you with your typing so you can type. And you can do all your work there, email it to me. Either way works. So all we're going to do today is we're going to be talking about the two different units, Unit 1 and Unit 2. I'm going to give a super brief explanation about what I want to see from those two units. And then we're going to, and then you're going to turn those into me. All right, sweet. So let's go to Unit 1. Unit 1. So we're going to be learning about the Hanford Nuclear Reservation effects on Indian Country. You're going to, obviously, as you read this, you're going to understand and learn more and more and more. The Hanford Nuclear Reservation was on Native American, or affected Native American people, and that's going to be our first unit. All right, so long story short, here we go. There's an introduction. We're talking about the Hanford Nuclear Reservation and how it was a part of nuclear development. And again, we're going to learn a lot more about that. Oh, sweet. Here we go. So Unit 1 has 4 parts plus a unit reflection. And each one of those parts essentially is a task, right? So we'll have 4 tasks, and then Unit 1 will be done. Okay, so a little bit later, I'm going to record some more videos on these tasks, but these are the 4 tasks. Once these 4 tasks are done, then you can turn those in. Let's take a quick look at each one of these tasks, and then we'll move on to Unit 2. All right, so part 1, it looks like it's going to go from pages 3 to 7, and so we're going to kind of scroll down here. In fact, here's a task right here. Part 1. This is gathering background information. There's going to be, this is what we're going to be filling out. And again, you can either put it on a piece of paper or you can put it on a piece of paper, or you can put it on a Word document. So for me, I've already created a little side Word document here. And so as I read, as I research, I can put my information on there. All right. Let me kind of get rid of that there. All right. So we're going to be doing some research, and what this really looks like is we're going to be reading, and as we read, we're going to find information that we like and that kind of goes towards the assignment, and we're going to take that information and put it on here. What am I learning about Hanford? So different bits of information. What do I still want to know? Things that you still have questions about. Okay, so that's basically Unit 1, Task 1. We're going to move on to Part 2, or Task 2. And this is going to be on page 9 through 30. So let's take a look at that. We're going to scroll. Sorry, it's a long scroll here. I'm just going to go over here. All right, part 2. So this kind of explains part 2 of Unit 1. An ecologist, so somebody who basically researches the land and the environment and the biological, so things that are living, things that are not living on land. As a reporter, so somebody who's kind of digging in to the Hanford Nuclear Reservation, and as a tribal representative, somebody who has the perspective or the point of view of Native American tribes and the land. And then once we get all this information down, we're going to put it in that graphic organizer. And again, just to kind of remind you, you can use a Word document or you can use just a piece of paper and then take a picture of that. Either way works. This really, again, you'll see on page 8 through 30, that's a lot of reading. It's a lot of reading. So as you go through, I'd suggest kind of going through once as an ecologist and then as a reporter, and you'll kind of see how I do this in my explanation video. So we're going to jump to page 30. Actually, we'll kind of take a quick peek at what's ahead. So again, you have the perspective of ecologists. This kind of breaks down who the ecologist is and what the information they want from the ecologist's point of view. Here's their source. So as you fill out the ecologist portion, this is going to be their source. Another source. Just keep on going. Let's go and scroll down to page 30 because we're going to do this again 4 times. So we're going to go to page 30. Again, a lot of reading. As you read, you're going to pick out the most important information that goes with these questions here for each of the 4 perspectives or points of view. I'm going to keep on going. I'm looking for page. There we go. So this, again, this is part 3, so task 3 of Unit 1. And you're going to create a organizer. So this can create visual with pictures, symbols, arrows. So you kind of see the different information, background information. This is just the basic information. What should people know about the situation? Ecologists, we're going to learn about them. Reporters, somebody who researches and reports on things. And then obviously from the Native American perspective, which is incredibly important for this unit. The very last thing that we're going to do is we're going to write a little 1-pager. And what I mean by 1-pager, in fact, here you go. What I mean by 1-pager is we're going to state a claim about people's use of in the environment. So a 1-sentence claim saying that this is that. Well, actually, I'll dive into detail in the actual video. We're going to provide background on your claim. And you remember all that research on all those notes, right? It helps feed all this information. So it really kind of builds on top of each other until you have Unit 1 done. Evidence, again, that's what we're going to be compiling. Providing reasons, that's where you come in and your analysis. And then making sure that we're citing our sources. So as you go through your information, make sure to cite your sources. And then that will be Unit 1 reflection. That'll be done. In fact, here you go. Here is the 1-page report. So that's kind of an outline, and that's all you really need to do. Unit reflection. So after we get done with the 1-page report, I'm going to ask you to do a Unit 1 reflection. And this is basically just your thoughts. Why should I care about this issue? And then kind of basically some of the learning. You can show evidence of some of the learning that you've had. Next, we're going to go into Unit 2. Unit 2 is about politics and government and how it's organized. And you can see again, there's a couple points. There's 4 parts. And then a little reflection. So in this case, it's pages 36 to 46. It's a lot shorter. It seems a lot shorter. The first unit, obviously, is just because there's so much research and there's so much reading involved. So we're going to go down and kind of take a quick peek at this. Part 1, the purpose of government. This is going to be our guiding question. So we're going to be talking about government. What is it? You've seen different parts of government. How does it actually work in the real world? What is it all about? How is it organized? Things of that nature. So this is where you're going to be putting down your ideas and the information. We're going to be talking about, again, different bits of information from your perspective. So here you go, lesson simulation, Lost on Island. So you're going to go through this, this little scenario, and you're going to be kind of going through and figuring out why government's important, how it works, and why it's important. And this kind of leads you up to that big idea. There you go, some more information. So again, we're just going to be filling out these boxes. And again, as I showed you earlier, these boxes can be filled out with a Word document off to the side even. And as you go, you just kind of keep on adding. I do ask that you label them so it's easier for me to grade it and to see it. All right. So here we go. This is that was part one. So you talking about rules and a little scenario and kind of going through the process of why rules would be important and which leads you to why government's important. Part two is the structure of government in Washington. So how is our government created? How is it set up? What are the rules? What are the basic things that I should be aware of here? Talking about writing the Constitution. Part two is going to be all the way down. Let's take a look here. Oh, here's another activity here. So as you see, whenever there's a blank, essentially that's what I'm asking you for activities. Part two, the legislative process. These are basically how are laws made. When you hear the word legislative, you're really talking about how are laws made, essentially. And there you go. So there's another activity, who makes the rules. There's different forms of government, and again, you'll kind of dive into that a little bit further. How things become a law. This kind of looks confusing, and it kind of is, but that's okay. As you read into it, you'll get a little bit more comfortable with government and how it's created. So suffrage. Suffrage is, we're going to be learning about suffrage. Suffrage is the right to vote. You might have heard of women's suffrage, and for a long time, women had to fight for the rights for their right to vote. And so we're talking about different ways suffrage has been seen in the United States. There you go, women get the right, women's suffrage. Lots of information online about women's suffrage. Native American becoming citizens. So again, lots of big things that have to deal with suffrages. Here is your one of your last tasks. And this is basically breaking down the different groups, and again, we're going to dive into that a little bit deeper as we go. And that's it. So this is basically Unit 1 and 2. I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning here. Unit 1 and 2. And each unit, as you can see here, we're going to go back to Unit 1. Each unit, as you can see here, has 4 parts and a unit reflection. If things are confusing, make sure to reread the tasks. I'm obviously online on Thursdays, so if you have any questions, if you need to email me and ask me specific questions, that's fine too. But once we get these 2 assignments done, once we get the 2 units done, you're done. You're done with Washington State history. Some people are choosing to do this all at once, and they're knocking it all out, and they're emailing me the packets. Some folks are kind of just plugging along and making small little dents every week. Maybe they'll do a part, or maybe, and in reality, I'm going to suggest doing 2 parts a week. That way, it gets done a little bit earlier, and you'll be a little bit more comfortable, and hopefully I'll be able to get those videos out for you quickly. So do the parts. Once each unit is done, send it to me, and we'll go from there. All right. On a personal note, I hope that your quarantine is going okay. It's really awkward times. It's really awkward times for me. It's going to be tempting to kind of not to eat the marshmallow and kind of do other things, but definitely set aside some time for this and knock it out. And as we know from class, the learning line, if you're 2 and you're confused, that's okay. That's okay to do. That's okay to be confused. All I'm asking for is for you to do whatever you need to do to move up to the next spot on the learning line. So it's okay to be confused. It's okay to be nervous about all this information and all this reading, but definitely push yourself. Don't eat the marshmallow. Do what you need to do, not what you want to do, and knock this out. And I'm excited to see you guys' work. Definitely excited to see how you guys break down some of this information. So I appreciate you, and I hopefully will be hearing from you soon. All right.